name is Gideon Nelson, and welcome to the Southwestern University Guitar Tutorials. Today we're going to take a look at one of Fernando Sor's most beautiful studies, his Opus 31, number 23. First, you will hear the piece played under tempo, accompanied by a scrolling score with close-up views of both the left and right hands. Afterwards, we'll take a few minutes to discuss the piece further in depth, and then finally, you will hear a performance of the piece played at concert tempo. As indicated in the score, the piece evokes a feeling of a thoughtful prayer. Written in the style of a chorale, Fernando Sor demonstrates his excellence as a composer through smooth voice leading and expert use of harmonic and melodic conventions, such as appoggiaturas, suspensions, anticipations, and chromatic harmony. Take a moment to look at the harmonic analysis below the score. These Roman numerals indicate how each chord functions in the key of E major. So why do we take the time to do a harmonic analysis of a piece? Well, first we need to realize that these chords don't exist in a vacuum. There is a context for every chord used in this chorale, and the more we understand and internalize their function, the better we are able to convey their inherent tensions and relaxations to the listener. Let's take a look at an example from the beginning of the piece that illustrates this idea. Take a look at beat 1 of measure 2. You will notice that the G sharp is not a part of an F sharp minor chord, the 2 chord in the key of E major. In this case, it is an appoggiatura, as it is approached by a leap and resolves to F sharp on beat 3. You can also notice that beat 1 of measure 3 has another non-chord tone. The E is a suspension held over from the previous chord and resolves to the D sharp diminished chord. Careful study of this piece will reveal many such instances and help you develop an interpretation of the work. Analysis also facilitates memorization and musicality, things like where to take time or which chords to roll. We tend to roll chords indiscriminately, but if we reserve this technique, it will add a much greater level of sophistication to our playing. For example, I like to roll the first chord in measure 10. This is the same appoggiatura that happens in measure 2, but this time as a repetition and more fully voiced. Rolling this chord adds a greater intensity to this measure. For example, here's how it sounds in measure 1. And when this same thing appears again in measure 10, you can see how rolling this chord really builds the tension in this measure. Understanding functional harmony is a key to understanding dynamics. There is an inherent dissonance even in diatonic harmonies. Some chords carry greater tension than others, and as a general rule, should be played louder. Taking a look at the end of the piece allows us to see one of the most obvious examples of this idea. Take a look at the last 2 chords in the piece, a B7 chord followed by an E major. The B7 has a much greater tension and should therefore be played louder than the E chord. If I play it wrong, it sounds backwards, like this. Played with the correct dynamics, we get a much greater sense of resolution. One final thing to consider is that slow lyrical pieces such as this must be played with legato and connectedness. Now, legato and connectedness are sort of ethereal terms that can be hard to quantify. But one way to approach them is to play the piece slowly, respecting the tempo, allowing each note to fill its entire duration. And now, here's a performance of the piece at concert tempo.